What's up, guys? It's just Saturday morning. Gonna put a little work in. I'm just again trying to find leads for acquisitions, and I'm just going through and manually scraping these websites, and I'm plugging them into my specific tools and finding leads. I'm trying to find who the owners of these businesses are, um, and so I'm just gonna do this for a little while. And if anyone comes in, just feel free to ask me any questions you have about what I'm doing or business in general or whatever it might be. If you have a business you want to sell, if you're a wannabe entrepreneur, a entrepreneur, uh, ask me questions. All right, get started. So what I've realized doing this, or when I looked back at the one I did yesterday, um, this I need a real camera or something mounted up on the wall because the way I have my laptop propped up on this, it makes it a little shaky, doesn't it? Working Saturday morning is one of my favorite times to actually get a little work done. They talk a lot about business in like the sense of like in like Seven Habits of Highly Successful People. He breaks it down into quadrants. There's like the top left quadrant, which is like reactive, important and urgent things, and so like things that happen in business that like you have to react to. It has to be done really quick. And then the top right, it's like unurgent but really important aspects, and then the bottom right's like unurgent, unimportant. The bottom left's like urgent and not important, maybe. But anyways, you get bogged down on the top left side because you get bogged down by all the busyness of stuff that is important but doesn't always push your business forward. And sometimes during the week it's tough to get away from that kind of stuff. You can delegate it as much as you like, but it doesn't always all stay away from you. There's still major issues or major problems that happen that can come up to surface that you need to handle. And on one of those days that nothing like that does ever happen usually is Saturday morning, at least in my business at the size that it's at right now. So it's a good time to get a little work done. But I've been pretty good on the systems I've built lately, and so I don't. My workload's been pretty easy, which is why I'm exploring other stuff like trying to create content and do lives and stuff like this. I'm gonna minimize this guy so that I can use this screen in the middle for my work as well, so you can see me. Then I'd like to put this guy right here. All right, that's better. I never realized how shaky this desk was until I watched it back later, which is kind of funny. I guess when you're sitting here working, you don't think about it. I really need to work on my handwriting. And I need my box. My outgoing box, my customized outgoing box. This really seems like one of the best ways that I've discovered to make content. Obviously I have no viewers yet, but it's very, it's much more natural. And I just feel like I'm, hanging out, which is cool, rather than making content could be a little bit more of a script. This is a little more off script, which I think is a little bit more my style. Always has been. I was always the kid growing up that would wing it before a presentation or before a test or whatever. I've gotten better about that nowadays. I try to be pretty on top of things. You have to when you own a company, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever way you want to look at it. The funny thing about owners of businesses is that they're like the last ones sometimes that have LinkedIn profiles, especially the older guys. Like if they're a blue collar company or something, they, they don't. If they started it 30 years ago, they don't have a LinkedIn, or they do. They have one maybe once, so their daughter started for them or something, but they don't actually use it, and they have like 2 connections. I don't blame them either. It's to an extent. There's not much of a point to having a LinkedIn unless you are an employee. All right, so it's kind of tough to find some information about this company. All right, so I'm just gonna go with this information I have here, which isn't that great, but we're gonna plug it in. Something that in business that's kind of amazed me, because I wasn't in it, for so long. But a lot of these blue collar businesses, like there's like the top 5 are pretty good, maybe in a metro. I'm sure in a major metro like Chicago, there's probably 50 companies that are really good. But the amount of companies that aren't good, the amount of companies that frankly kind of suck, is actually eye opening. And if you, could be intelligent about what you do and you attack things with a certain resolve, you will, without a doubt, have success, I think, in these industries. $10.18 today. Oh, I'm on the wrong. Copy. Delete. All right. Let's go to the next company. See, this is a big company. Sometimes companies can be too big, at least for my acquisition level. You know, eventually I'd like, the opportunities to buy, major companies, but frankly, this gets so competitive once you reach a certain size, all the private equity gets involved, and then that becomes a much more tough acquisition. I imagine it's more seamless acquisition. Probably you probably buy a company like this and don't even need to change anything. But and that's why the private equity is competing with it, and that's why the price points are where they're at. All right, so I can't find that. Let's go try and find. All right, this pen kind of sucks. I like this guy. Going live is a very different type of social media. It's very like you have to like you know publicly, I guess, because no one's here, but publicly accept that no one's watching, which can be kind of funny and an interesting process to go through. I imagine everybody that ever goes live does the same process, but at least when you make a YouTube video, it's like you do the production. You don't like see the back end yet. We're like, okay, I made this video and like only got 2 views, but while you're live streaming, it's like in your face. I would be curious to know how often do second generation people like actually want to sell. I mean, it seems like a lot of the times people sell like a first generation owner, and they just don't want anything to do with it, or their kids don't want anything to do with it. I mean, sometimes if the second generation takes it over, I feel like it becomes a family legacy, and it's more likely to stay in the company or in the business in the family. Maybe that's not true. I don't know, but it does feel like that tends to happen more often. That's the other thing about buying a bigger business. Um, that could almost be nice is that it's less, uh, personal for people that are selling. Um, sometimes it's sad. Someone just like they want to sell to somebody in their family, but nobody in the family's interested, and it's like okay, but it's a good scenario for everybody. Obviously, they're getting paid a lot of money to sell it, and then you know it gets taken off their hands, so they don't have to deal with the day-to-day headaches of that business. But it's a lot of people. Only start companies from scratch. It's like your baby, and you would desire your kids to want to take it over, but obviously you can't. Uh, you know, make your kids do what you want. I'm not a father, but I imagine that's true. Hmm. I think we get to the end of these uh, these companies here in Grand Rapids, and it's becoming harder and harder to find real addresses. This address is southeast, southeast. That makes no sense. Zachariah. Is Zachariah? Is that a girl or a guy? Forgot how crazy the copyrights are here on YouTube. I played music yesterday, and I got copyright from it. Yeah, I see like this company here, Canfield in Grand Rapids. Looks like they just sold to private equity last year. So I'm gonna pull down this information so I already have it, but I'm not gonna be able to buy it. But it's nice to have this recorded anyways, just because that way I don't go to this company again and do this again. Save myself some time next time if I'm scrapping through here. Just gonna take down this, write down the new management company, which is Chris Burnside. I know that name. All right, make a little note here. This company was sold to be in 2024. All right, let's go to the next one. Dude, Google Gemini makes this so much easier. I can just search for who the owner of these companies are. Usually I backtrack the link to make sure it's accurate. But when I started doing this, the first time I started doing this, like maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, when I would manually scrape for leads like this, uh, you'd have to go through all the URLs online. But now I just pop it into Google Gemini and it does all the scraping for me. I mean, there was like tools for it before, but like this is like, it's just so easy now. People act like this is a lot of work. I'm like, honestly, it's about a billion times easier than it used to be. these plumbing guys seem to be in particular hard to find. They, you know, they're usually a little older men, or even if they're younger, they're not usually tech savvy guys. You know, these are blue collar guys or mechanic types, uh, which is great. But it just means usually they're not very big on socials or active. You know, can't it's hard to get a hold of them. Alrighty. Silent that fucker.